Welcome everyone to the WOWIO Author Showcase. I'm your host Jacob Morris, and we are very happy to have with us in studio William Widmaier. William, thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely,
Before
Jacob.
we get started,
yeah,
we have to have a little toast.
Something.
So, we have you here today because we're so proud to have your book on our WOWIO.com website, A Feast at the Beach. It's a wonderful book, and I want to tell everybody right now, before you read it, you have to have a full stomach. Okay, can I just say that?
I would say a full stomach and a glass of wine.
And a glass of wine, because I read like the first couple of pages and went, hold on a minute. let me get some pate, let me get some French bread, which we have here. It's lovely. And it's such an exceptional read, and you kind of just jump right into it because you really sort of tell the story immediately just through senses and smell and all around you, and it kind of comes through the pages.
You know, it's to me what I found interesting is that a lot of the guys who read the book, and you wouldn't think it was necessarily a guy's book, but there's been a lot of men who read the book, and that seems to be the most common thing, is that it took, you know, they go, God, William, it took me back to great moments in my childhood.
Yeah.
Right, and you made me think of my grandfather, who I haven't thought of in a long time, or, you know, or it tends to be that it brings them back to the best moments.
Yeah.
And for me, that, you know, that's the greatest compliment, you know, one of the greatest compliments a writer can have.
Yeah, it's very telling. I think it's a good story, and that's what I meant when I said was the first couple of pages, like, this is me. This could be me.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. There was I had somebody else tell me, they said, they finished the book and they said, I feel nostalgic, and I feel that that your history is now mine, that I once lived this. And I was like, wow, you know, that's...
No, it's pretty powerful writing when you can elicit that response. So, this chicken and the egg question, which came first, the memories of the food or the childhood memories? You went, I got to put this in a book.
It was the memories first. The interesting thing is, as the book developed, you realize that how much food played a part, and that you couldn't separate them out. And I think part of that's the French culture, but I think you get it in the English culture also. There's things that are culturally, you know, associated with that, right? Certain foods that just go with it, right? And certain experiences, going to the pub. It's just part of what makes that culture.
Well, you know, our Sunday morning breakfast was porridge with the maple syrup, you know.
Right.
Or an English breakfast, you know,
the classic.
beans.
Yeah, exactly. Which
I've taught my wife to make.
Oh, good for you.
And my son loves, and so, you know, something I hope, you know, keep passing on. But that's what you talk about too. You know, you talk about cutting into the food, the smell of the food, the way your grandmother spent the time in the kitchen. You know.
So there's a thing about food that really came to me while writing the book, which was some of the best moments, some of the best things that describe happiness. If you look at art, you'll see constantly those moments that are being depicted as happiness tend to happen around food.
Right.
It's the family at the table, it's the friends at the table, it's sharing the bottle of wine, it's that communal moment where you're feeding the body, but you're also feeding the soul.
Yeah.
Right. And I think if we had more of that, it'd be great. And the other thing that happened while writing the book was that I realized that I'd been indoctrinated, not just by my grandmother, but my uncle, about the importance of also, you're preparing food not just to eat, but to bring pleasure, right? And so there's multiple facets of that. The person who's receiving it, that moment of, oh my God, this is fantastic, right? You know, but to be able to create that effect.
Yes. To
be able to, you know, you worked hard, you did all this work in the kitchen, and if you have an appreciating person, it's all worth it.
Isn't it?
You know.
I know.
You know.
Well, you kind of reminded me, because I'm one of those guys. Unfortunately, I think, is that for me, food is fuel. It's like I got to eat so I can move on. But the book kind of reminded me. Spend the 4 hours.
Yes.
Sit down, have a nosh, have a conversation. And
Santé.
About santé. Now, speaking of drinking. Yeah, I'm from England, and in our culture, as it seems in the French culture, it's very acceptable for the family to go, let's go to the pub. And, you know, we would all go down to the pub. And as a little kid, I was given a shandy, which is half beer, half what they call soda there, lemonade.
Right.
Like a sparkling lemonade. This is a memory that sticks with me the whole time. And it's because, like, I'm an adult. I'm
right.
grown up.
I'm included.
Yeah,
I
I'm
get to
included.
be with,
Right. And
absolutely.
it's kind of a shame that there's something that we don't really do here, because I think that it's a nice, first off, you save on babysitting. But
I think it's, I think it's more than that, because for us it was the same thing. For us it was a panache, right? The sparkling lemon soda with beer. And the alcohol level by the time you're done is just not that high.
Oh, no.
But you feel included, you feel like, you're with the adults. But I think it also takes the mystery and the the danger of alcohol and what happens in the bar and all that. It takes that kind of away, so that I don't think in France, and it's the same thing. You don't like turn 18 or turn 21 and go and then go binge drink, right? It's just, well, you've been drinking already for a while, right? It's not that big of a thing.
Well, you make a point to put this this recipe in your book, and let's let the viewers know that a feast at the beach includes a lot of recipes, and that's why I said you need to be full when you eat this, because either you're going to do midnight runs to the supermarket or do something. But in your book, what kind of feedback have you gotten from people? And we talked about how some of the guys were saying, "Wow, this is your memories are my memories," but what other thoughts have people given you about a feast at the beach?
It's actually been incredibly good, and I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I've had a number of reviews, and they've all been very good, and so that's almost, it's humbling, to tell you the truth. You just kind of go, wow. I've had people tell me that they've cried. I've done several readings, and it's hard. I tend to get emotional, and then the audience gets emotional, and then there's like emotional feedback, and everybody's crying. But it's great, I've had that kind of response, and it was very interesting. I touch on in the book that thing where as you get older, as you're a boy and you get older, and it's what the opposite sex and what does it mean, and the mystery and the stuff, and it's an incredibly difficult subject to kind of explain, especially if you kind of take yourself back to those days. It's it's that you want, but that whole. And I had a guy write to me and say that he had never been able to capture that for him, and the way the book did. Right. So that was fantastic. And then I have a lot of people just ask me for recipes and food advice.
Once again, William Widmaier, we have your book, Feast at the Beach. It is available for download at WOWIO.com.